They told me they were moving in like it was already decided. We were sitting at dinner, forks in the air, smiles carefully arranged. The whole thing delivered in that soft, practiced tone people use when they want to make something sound generous even though it's actually a demand. My mother said, "We'll stay with you for a little while. Just temporarily." My father gave me that calm, confident smile people wear when they think the conversation is already over. And just like that, I understood everything. This wasn't a question. It wasn't even a discussion. They had already made the decision. They just expected me to cooperate. So I nodded. I kept eating. I let them explain how they sold the house, how the money was already gone, how my sister's big vision needed support, how family helps family, how I was stable, responsible, dependable, the safe one, the one who would understand, the one who would carry it. They weren't talking to me like I was their daughter. They were talking to me like I was a backup plan. And while they were laying out the future they had chosen for me, I looked down at the lease sitting in my bag. Signed. Paid for. Keys already waiting. That was the moment everything clicked. Because they hadn't asked to move in. They had already moved in their minds. They just didn't know I was already leaving. Growing up, I was always the reliable one. The quiet one. The one who didn't need much. The one who figured things out without making noise. My sister was the opposite. Big ideas. Big emotions. Big promises. Always chasing the next opportunity, the next dream, the next version of life that was finally going to work out. And my parents? They followed her hope like it was contagious. Every new plan was the one that would fix everything. Every setback was temporary. Every mess could be cleaned up later. And somehow, I became the floor beneath all of it. The stable one. The practical one. The one they counted on without ever really asking whether I wanted to be counted on in the first place. When I got my apartment, they congratulated me. But even then, something about it felt off. Their pride came with assumptions built into it. Not pride in my independence. Pride in my usefulness. I didn't fully see it back then. Now I do. It was hidden in every compliment. Every time they praised how responsible I was. Every time they said, "You'll understand when you're older." What they really meant was, "You'll carry this when we need you to." And the signs had been there for a while. A forwarded email about selling the house that wasn't meant for me. A passing comment about downsizing, followed by a glance at my spare room. My mother casually asking how long my lease was locked in. Then my sister, all excitement and confidence, mentioning that staying with me just made sense. She said it like the plan had already been approved. I smiled. I asked questions. I listened, because I had already started preparing. 3 weeks before that dinner, I signed a lease on a smaller place. A quiet studio. Nothing fancy. Barely enough room for a bed and a table. But it was mine. And more importantly, it was protected. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't argue. I didn't confront them. I got organized. I changed my address. Forwarded my mail. Scheduled the movers for early morning. Canceled utilities. Packed everything that mattered. I made sure there were no loose ends, no shared access, no confusion. No room for anyone to claim they misunderstood. Because setting a boundary doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like planning so carefully that by the time people realize what's happening, the decision has already been made. And honestly, I slept better that night than I had in years. The next morning, my apartment was nearly empty. Boxes gone. Closets cleared. Walls echoing. My bags were by the door, my keys on the counter, and the whole place felt lighter, like it had finally exhaled. They arrived just as I was locking up. At first, they looked confused, then annoyed, then something closer to panic. My father looked at the empty apartment and asked, "You're leaving?" Like the idea had never crossed his mind. I looked at him and said, "I moved." My mother gave a short laugh and said, "Don't be dramatic." So I handed her the keys and answered calmly, "This place isn't mine anymore. that was when the silence hit. A real one. The kind that opens up when people realize the script they wrote no longer applies. They asked where I was going. I told them it wasn't important. They brought up family. I brought up consent. They talked about helping each other. I reminded them there's a difference between helping someone and being assigned a burden without being asked. Then my sister showed up. She walked into the empty apartment, looked around, and stared at me like I had broken some invisible rule she thought I'd always follow. And she said, "You can't just leave." I held her gaze and said, "I already did." That was the moment it finally landed for all of them. First, that they had nowhere to go. Then, that the money was truly gone. And finally, that I was no longer available to rescue the situation they had created. They tried guilt. I let it pass. They tried anger. I stayed calm. They tried fear. But by then, I wasn't afraid of disappointing them anymore. And once that fear disappeared, so did their leverage. That's the thing about power in families like that. It only works as long as you keep accepting the role they wrote for you. The moment you stop performing it, everything shifts. I didn't yell. I didn't explain myself more than once. I didn't apologize for choosing peace. I just walked away while they were still trying to rearrange their expectations. And my new place? It was tiny. The walls were thin. The windows were small. The kitchen barely deserved the name. And it was perfect, because for the first time, my home didn't come with hidden obligations. No unspoken debt. No emotional rent. No pressure tucked into every corner. Just space. Quiet. Air. I unpacked slowly. Made the bed. Set one plate in one cabinet. Hung my keys by the door. And somewhere in the middle of all that silence, I realized something. I could finally breathe. Eventually, they found another solution. They adjusted. They rewrote the story the way people do when accountability makes them uncomfortable. We don't talk much now. And I don't hate them. Hate takes energy. What I feel is simpler than that. Cleaner. Relief. Because they thought I was the safety net. They never realized I was the one holding the scissors. And the day I finally cut myself free, I didn't lose my family. I got my life back. If you've ever been treated like the dependable one, the one who's expected to fix everything, let this be a reminder. Love should never come with automatic access to your peace. Boundaries are not betrayal. Sometimes they're the most honest thing you can offer. If this story resonated with you, like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories about family dynamics, self-respect, and taking your life back.